All right, here is our 1.2 homework help video. Let's get right into this. So for the first couple of problems here, the first three, it's asking us to complete the statement using less than, greater than, or equal to, comparing these two values, right? If I'm thinking about this, right, I'm going to change anything that's in an absolute value into its absolute value. 5 isn't, so it's just going to stay the same. -7, the absolute value of that. We think about how far away is it from 0. It's 7 units away. I know that 7 is greater than 5, so we should have a less than sign. Okay, for the next one, taking the absolute value of both of these, I'm going to get positive 2.6 and positive 2.06. When I go to compare, remember we have to compare based on each of their place values. In my one spot, they're both 2. When I get to the 10th place, I have a 6 and I have a 0. The 6 is bigger, so we're going to say that is greater than. Finally here, if we think about this, right, the negative's on the inside, so this is going to result in a positive number. My negative is on the outside here, so I'm going to take the opposite of whatever positive number I get out of there, meaning that's negative, which always the positive will be bigger. All right, for 5 and 7, I'm just adding. So the important thing for adding here is making sure our place values are all lined up. I have 4.09. Notice I'm still missing something that goes in the thousands place. So I'm just going to insert a 0 there. And then I can add 6 plus 0 is 6. 1 plus 9 is 10. 3 plus 1 plus 0 is 4. That's where my decimal point goes. 6. So my answer is 6.406. For adding fractions, remember I need to make common denominators. I can see that by multiplying by 4, I can change 2 into 8. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 1/2 is going to change into 4/8. Adding 1/8 to that, we get 5/8. All right, 13 and 14 says write an addition expression represented by the number line, then find the sum. Right, remember we always start by going to one spot and then we go from that spot to our new value. Right, it looks like we started at 0 and went to -2. So I know my first number that I started with is -2. Okay, this is always an addition expression because it says right here. So I need to add something. In this case, I'm adding positive 4 units because I'm going right. Right? -2 plus 4, where does that put us? It gives us 2. So the expression would be this, and then the sum is 2. My expression here, I start by going all the way to 5. So I know 5 is my first number. It's always an addition expression because that's what my directions tell me to do. Next, I'm going to go backwards 1, or I'm going to add -1 to it. There's my expression. My sum puts me at 4. Right, 17, 19, 20. Find the sum, use integer counters or number line to verify your answer. Let's do both. So for the first one, I'm going to use my integer counters. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to think, is there any 0 pairs I can cancel out? Nope, they're all negative, so I'm just going to add them all together, giving me a total of -10. For the next one, okay, I'm going to use integer counters again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. This time I can cancel anything out, right? Anytime I have a plus and a minus, they cancel each other out. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, leaving me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positives, meaning my answer is +7. Right? Let's say you wanted to use a number line. Right? We were just practicing it up above. I start at 0 and I go to my first number, which is 5. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm going all the way to here. This is 5. And then I'm going to go backwards from there, 7. So this is -7. Okay, using a number line, right, we could fill in each of our little lines. Where we end up is 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, negative 2. Answer. Right. You be the teacher, your friend finds the sum. Is your friend correct? Explain your reasoning. Well, let's take a look. My friend did negative 10 plus another negative 10 is equal to 0, right? It seems as though they took the first one being positive 10, the second one being negative 10. I think there's their mistake, right? If we use integer counters quick here, right, representing each of these, we can see I have no positives that I'm dealing with, so everything is negative, meaning I have a total of negative 20. My reasoning is that, right, adding same sign increases absolute value. Okay, if I have 10 and I'm adding 10 more negatives, right now I'm at negative 20, which is increased from 10 of its absolute value. All right, number 34, the temperature is negative 3 at 7 a.m. During the next 4 hours, the temperature increases 21 degrees. What is the temperature at 11 a.m.? Okay, so we start at negative 3, we add 21, that's what increases mean. Okay, I have a negative and a positive being added together, so I'm going to take the bigger absolute value and subtract the smaller. Right, this becomes 8 and 1. I take the sign of the bigger absolute value, meaning my new degrees is positive 18 degrees Fahrenheit. For 35, my account balance, my bank account started at a balance of negative 12. I deposit, right? Deposit we've been talking about means add in. So positive $60. What's my new balance? Again, we have a situation with a negative and a positive. I'm going to take my greater absolute value, subtract my smaller, got to borrow here. 10 minus 2 is 8, 5 minus 1 is 4. Take the sign of the bigger absolute value, and we get an answer of negative 48. All right, moving to the back side. It says a lithium atom has a positively charged protons and negatively charged electrons. The sum of the charges represents the charge of the lithium atom. Find the charge of the atom. So it's almost like we're given little integer counters. Okay, I see we have 3 positive charges, 3 negative charges. Okay, and when I add them together, or I take 3 plus negative 3, well, we can see that those are opposites of each other, right? I have an original number and an additive inverse, or together I have a 0 pair. These all are going to cancel, which makes sense that my charge is 0, which sometimes we say is neutral. All right, tell how the commutative and associative properties of addition can help you find the sum using mental math. I find the sum. Basically, what this one is trying to get at is you could move around these different numbers within an addition statement um, as long as you take all the signs with it. And it helps us because we can kind of put terms that look similar next to each other to help us out. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these two, which is the commutative. Okay. And instead I'm going to go 9 plus negative 9 plus negative 17. Now, why would I do that? Well, take a look here. We have opposites, 9 and negative 9, which we know is going to result in 0. And 0 plus any number is just whatever that number we were looking at. So I get an answer of negative 17. For the next one here, I'm going to move it so that I can I can work with all my negatives first and then just have 2 numbers to work with. So this rewritten becomes negative 12 plus negative 15 plus 25. Both of these are negative, so my answer is going to stay negative. 12 plus 15 becomes 27. and we keep the negative on there. Adding in 25, right? I have 27 negatives, 25 positives. I'm going to subtract since they have opposite sides. Bigger value from smaller value, and I end up with 2. 27 had the bigger absolute value, so my answer here becomes -2. Right, for 56, it says evaluate the expression when A is 4, B -5, and C is -8. Basically, what we're taking here is anytime we see a letter, we're just going to put in the number it tells us. So I get 4 plus B is -5 plus C, which is -8, something like that. Right, we can combine some things in here really quick. I see two negatives right next to each other. I'm going to add them. -5 plus -8. Add the two numbers. 5 and 8 is 13. Keep the sign, so -13. Okay, I'm still adding 4 to this. I haven't touched that yet. Now I have a absolute value with different signs. This is positive, this is negative. So I'm going to subtract the two values, 13 and 4, right, which I get 9. And since 13 is the greater value and it's negative, we're going to keep this -9. Last up, I have absolute value bars around it. I have to think, what is the absolute value of -9? How far away is it from 0? It is 9 units away. All right, 57. The table shows the income and expenses for a school carnival. The school's goal was to raise $1,100. Did the school reach its goal? So any of these positive values we see are money that the school raised. Any of the negative values we see are the school's expenses for setting up. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to add it all together and then figure out, did they actually meet their goal? So let's start doing that. I'm going to add all my positives together first. So I have 650 plus 530 plus 52. Okay, I'm going to write off to the side. 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. 5 plus 3 plus 5 is 13. 1 plus 6 is 7 plus 5 is 12. So my total earned before taking out 4 expenses is 1,232. My total expenses, right, both of them are negative, so I can just add the values together. 75 and 28. I get 13. 7 plus 1 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. I'm going to keep the similar sign since they're both negative. This is going to be negative. And then at the end, we just need to add in our expenses. These have two different signs, so we're going to subtract their values. 1,232 minus 103. Got to borrow here. 12 minus 3 is 9. 2 minus 0 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. And I have $1,129 total raised. So, did the school reach its goal? Yes, it reached its goal by, right? And we can think, how much did it reach it by? Take off what the goal amount was. They got it by $29. Right, last question here. Couple of questions that go with it. Starting at point A, the path of a dolphin is jumping out of the water shown. And it's asking, is the dolphin at a deeper point at point C or point E? Okay, what might be nice is to kind of think about where it is at each position. Okay, so obviously it starts at A and it goes up 24 feet. Okay, so I know that right now we added 24. Next, it dives down minus 18 feet from its apex of its jump. So if we think about it, right, however high it jumped to, it's minus 18, which if we take both of those plus 24 minus 18, we have kind of a situation where one's positive, one's negative. I can subtract their values. And we have a total displacement of 6 feet positive right now. Okay, it then says from point C, it goes up 15 feet. Okay, so I have 15 feet, which I can add to 6, giving me 21 feet of displacement right now. And then after point E, right, taking off 13 feet, 21 feet plus negative 13, which is really just subtracting 21 and 13, I get a displacement of 8 feet. Okay, so if we kind of label each of these, B is plus 24. C, after I take into account, has 6 feet of total displacement. Point D, adding 15, gives me 21 feet of displacement. And E gives me 8 feet of displacement. Okay, so is the dolphin deeper at point C or point E? Right, we would want the least amount or the most negative amount of displacement between 6 and 8, right? C is going to be deeper. So I'm going to circle point C. Okay, my reasoning is, right, the displacement or how far away from the start is closest to starting point. Okay, we can tell that just by the picture, the starting point is in the water somewhere. Okay, next it's going to ask, is the dolphin higher at point B or point D? Well, let's take a look. It is 24 feet displaced from its starting position at point B, and we said it's 21 feet displaced at point D. Where is it higher, right? I'm furthest away from point A, giving me point B for an answer. And we would say displacement is furthest from starting point. All right. And then finally, it's asking what is the change in elevation of the dolphin from point A to point E, right? At this point, we've kind of already done that. We've looked at, okay, well, the displacement was at 24, then I went to 6, then we were at 21, and now we're sitting at 8. So the change in elevation is just this last one since we accounted for everything. We would say it is 8. All right, there's your 1.2 homework help.